Hello, everyone. So here's the notes for lesson 6. We're going to talk about a binomial distribution. Okay, so here it says, will the U.S. win the World Cup? So the U.S. women's soccer team is doing some calculations to help prepare for the upcoming World Cup. They are convinced that the toughest matches are likely to end in a tie. Now, these matches require a shootout to break the tie, where each team gets 5 penalty kicks. They believe they will need to make 4 or more penalty kicks to win. So we're going to kind of figure out what's the probability of winning here. So, over the history of the World Cup, about 70% of penalty kicks in a shootout are made. Now, we're going to actually assume this for the probability for each of the players on the U.S. team. So, no matter or who's the player, all of them can make 70% of their shots, okay? And that each kick is independent. Now, let me talk about this. What does independent mean? Well, independent means that the previous event does not affect the next event. And so this means that basically the previous event won't change what's the probability of the next event. So that's very important for this. Now, as stated, in order to win, the team has to get 4 or more penalty kicks, okay? So that means they have to either make 4 penalty kicks or all 5 penalty kicks. Now, what we're going to do first is figure out what is the probability that the team will make all 5 penalty kicks, okay? So here, we're going to pick probability that make all 5. So what this means is we find the probability that they make the first penalty kick, and they make the second one, and they make the third, and they make the fourth, and they make the fifth. Well, let's think about this. To make the first, what do they say? What's the percentage that they make their penalty kicks? Well, they said it is about a 70%. Now, we're going to change this into a decimal. We're going to make it 0.7. Now, what about the second one? Well, if the first event does not affect our second event, the probability stays the same. So that means even the second time, they have a 70% chance of making it. Okay, what about the third? Same idea, okay, because the previous event doesn't affect our probability for the next event. And we keep going all the way to 5. So for each of these, right, they have a 70% chance of making it. So here, we can actually rewrite this as 0.7 to the, because if I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, to the 5th power. So we can have that. So let's go ahead, let's plug that into our calculator. Now, once again, we are going to round to 4 decimal places when we do these probabilities here. So we have 0.7 to the 5th power. So we got about 0.68. Since it terminates, we can kind of round to 5 decimal places here. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So we have I'll just round to 4 decimal places, 0.681. Okay, so that's the probability that the team makes all 5 penalty kicks. Now, we also have to account for what is the probability that the team will make exactly 4 of the penalty kicks, okay? So one way this could happen is by making the first 4 kicks and then missing the last one, okay? So here says we are trying to find the probability that we make the first one, the second one, the third one, the fourth one. However, we miss the 5th one. Actually, what I would like you to do is I want you to pause the video and determine what would this look like right here. What values will we put in these 5 sets of parentheses? So go ahead and pause the video and put that down. Okay, so if we think about it and we're going back to what we had, remember they have a 70% chance of making it. So if we make the first one, that is a 0.7 chance. Same thing for the second one, third, and fourth. Now, since we missed the 5th one, our probability here is 0.3. Well, how did we get 0.3? Well, remember, either you make the goal or you miss it, okay? So if they have a 70% chance of making it, well, what's the other percentage they don't? It's 30. So it's like if we do 1 minus 0.7 to talk about if they miss, okay? So now let's take this and write it out like we did up here. So we have 0.7. Now notice we only have 4 of these, and then our 0.3, we have 1 of those. So we can plug this into our calculator to get our percentage, or sorry, not percentage, our decimal here. Once again, we're going to round to 4 decimal places. So we have 0.7 to the 4th, And then we have to multiply that. Actually, I need to use my parentheses, 0.7 to the fourth. And I'm going to do my parentheses, 0.3 to the first. And we get about 0.0720. So that's going to be our probability. And so this probability is if they make 4 out of the 5 shots. Okay, part B, it says name another way to make exactly 4 penalty kicks, then find the probability. I want you guys to pause the video and try part B here. Okay, so here's one example. Now, my example may not be exactly yours, but we actually should get the same probability here. So let's say we miss the first one, and then we make the second, and we go all the way and we make the last one. So that's my one I'm going to try. So I'm going to say we miss the first one, but we make the second, third, fourth, and fifth one. So since we missed the first one, that's going to be 0.3. Now remember, you may have not missed the first one. Maybe you missed the second, the third, the fourth, or the fifth. Okay, so you should have 0.3 somewhere along in one of these 5 sets of parentheses. Now for all the other ones I make it, I'm going to put 0.7. Now, once again, notice we only have 1 of the 0.3s, and we have 4 of the 0.7s. So if we notice this here, if we have 1 of these and 4 of these, it's kind of the same thing here. When we just get the same probability, yes, we would. So here on part C, it says, what do you notice about the probabilities of part A and B? So hopefully we notice for the probabilities in part A and B that no matter if we miss the first one or we miss the fifth one, that we get the same probability. And so we get the same one no matter which one we miss, okay? So now here's what I'm going to have you guys do. Now that we know that we will get the same probability no matter, as long as we make 4 out of the 5 penalty kicks, I want you guys to pause the video and try D and E. Okay, so D says, how many different ways are there of making 4 of the penalty kicks? Let's list them. Now, I'm going to go ahead and list the ones that we already have. I'm going to use check marks to say, hey, we made it. X's, we missed. So the first one they talked about is we made the first 4. Whoops, that should be a check mark. We made the first 4, so 1, 2, 3, 4, but missed the last one. When I wrote my part B, I said we missed the first one, but made all the other ones. Okay, now we could make the first one, but miss the second, and then make all the other 3. Or we can make the first 2, miss the third one, and still make that one. Okay, what if we made the first 3, missed the fourth one, and still missed or made the fifth one? So notice there's actually 5 ways in which we can make 4 penalty kicks. Okay. Now it says overall, what's the probability that the team will score on exactly 4 of the penalty kicks? Now remember, we already found the probability of making 4 out of the 5 penalty kicks. That was the 0.0720. Now there's actually 5 ways of doing that. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take my probability and multiply it by 5. It's kind of like saying if I added my probabilities all 5 ways, we're multiplying it. So really, the total number of ways that I can make exactly 4 penalty kicks is 0.36. So that's my total probability of making exactly 4 kicks. Okay, so we still actually haven't answered our question of what is the percentage that the women's soccer team will win. So that means they have to not only make 4, but we also have to talk about the 5 penalty kicks. Okay, go ahead and make sure you watch the next video. That's where we're going to get our total probability.